this kid erupts and all this volume of stuff comes out of his stomach and his throat and all over me, right? And I turn him over, clean him up, and get him going. And he's standing up and he's alive. And so the only thought I had as I looked around was, what's wrong with all these people? So I look at him, and there's this girl, and she's standing there next to her boyfriend and another girl. And I go, what's wrong with you guys? Your friend was dead on the beach, and you guys weren't doing nothing, not a darn thing. And she looked at me, and she says, oh, no, mister, we were doing something. I said, what were you doing? She says, we were all praying that Jesus would send somebody who knew what he was doing and save our friend. And I go, what? She says, and you came.
Reverend Bill, how are you doing today?
Thanks for having me here this morning. We've been yik-yakking before we hit the record here, and I think this is going to be a fun conversation today. So good morning to you from California. And I think you're out there in God's country, Oklahoma or someplace.
Oh, yeah. Back, we had a comedian that came down here and said, well, it's nice to be back in America. And he was from California.
well, here's the deal. This little town I live in California is Elk Grove, California. Merle Haggard, you know who he is, right? The Okie from Muskogee and all that. Well, he married a woman from our town, and his mother lived in our town. And he bought a piece of property on Elk Grove Boulevard, the main street, and he was going to put in recording studios, and then he passed away. So that's the connection between Oklahoma and little old Elk Grove, California. So there you go. You didn't know that, right?
I actually did not know that. Of course, I knew Merle was from, well, he sang the song Okie from Muskogee. He's not technically from Muskogee, but I was born in Muskogee, so.
Yeah, I think he's Bakersfield or someplace.
Yeah. I think it was when I met my father when I was 20. He said he was born in Bakersfield, and that's where I connected because I'd heard Merle was born there too. Of course, my father is nothing like Merle Haggard at all.
Well, people from Oklahoma, you know what we say out here?
What?
They're okay.
Yeah, we used to have a license plate that said that too. I was like, that's a horrible marketing ploy. I'm like, we're just okay.
That's okay.
It's funny when you're a kid here, you want to get out of Oklahoma, but when you get older, you start not, I traveled around the nation. I still do. And I realized that, Oklahoma is kind of like that stray dog that comes to your house. You keep on, you don't want anything to do with it when it first comes around, but then you start missing it if it's not around. And you just go back. And now it's like, we have our issues, but man, I can still breathe free air down here. So I appreciate it.
All right.
Anyway, we were talking a little bit, and I wanted to do this quickly because you're about to go into surgery and everything. Can you tell me a little about that because we started talking about health, and I wanted to stop because I'm really bad about talking about stuff before I even push record.
Okay. All right. So we were just talking beforehand. There's a picture last September. Okay. And that's one of many ugly pictures like that. I mean, I had 14, 15 surgeries that were like that or worse. Nose cut off twice, rebuilt, everything else. I went through a lot of pain, and it's honestly, it's not as much fun as it sounds to have your nose cut off.
Yeah.
And having it cut off 3 times, it's like, what? So, but not everything is bad or terrible. And people look at me when I say that. They go, what do you mean? I go, look, nothing in my life has ever gone bad for me. And then they bring up all these examples. I said, no, everything happens as it's supposed to happen. And they go, wait a minute, you were shot by a machine gun. Yeah. You were shot down 5 times in a helicopter. You crashed 8 times. Yeah. You were blown up by a rocket. Yeah. You were, they go down this list, you motorcycle crashes, car crashes, you fell off your 2-story house twice on the cement. I mean, the list goes on, right? And I'm going, yeah, everything happened as it was supposed to happen. 12 major heart attacks, major surgeries, 3 near-death experiences. And it just goes on. And you know what? Everything happens as it's supposed to happen. And it's all led me to where I'm at now. And in the last 3 years, 2.5 years, I've been going through this real bad period of cancer where I've had, you just showed those pictures, but they took tumors from underneath my orbital sockets. I thought I was going to lose my eyes. because they thought the roots were up in there. I went into the surgery and they go, well, you may not have any eyeballs when you get out. I go, okay, just do it. I brought my wife. She can drive me home. It's all right. Just do it. So so that was the kind of experience.
I'm just sorry. I'm thinking about that. And the one fear, there's a lot of things I could deal with. You're losing your legs. Okay. Eyeballs. I have a huge fear of going blind. So that you're a bigger man than me.
Well, you know what it is? It's, you're not going to get out of here with this body worth much. I mean, it's going to rot in the ground or be burned or something, right? So the most important things in life is your relationships, your relationship with yourself, number one, with God, with your family, with your friends, with your country, depending on how you want to layer this. But ultimately, I teach people, if you don't have a good relationship with you, yourself, if you don't love you, you can't love anybody else. If you can't forgive you, you can't forgive anybody else. And if you're not grateful for all that happens to you, and I mean that because when I went through all this, I'm going to talk about the healing process here because I think it's a good subject to roll on. I teach people that in order to heal, you have to accept everything that happens to you, be grateful for all that happens to you, and look for the gifts. To me, having cancer was a wonderful gift. And people go, what? What? I've seen your face. It's been torn up. I had over 300 stitches in this face last year, or the last year and a half. 300, if you can picture that. I mean, it was stitched everywhere. It was ripped, torn.
Wow.
And I never once said, why me? How come? Never. I'd say, okay, this is going to make a hell of a good story when I'm all healed up, right? And when I talk about healing with people, when I go on the road around the world, talking about healing and self-healing and all that, it sure makes it a lot more believable when people have seen where you've been and what your journey is, and you're still surviving. Now, you look at me and my next birthday, I'll be 78 years old. You see any wrinkles?
No, I can't imagine that.
Some scars, but so here I am. I'm going, if I showed you photos, I could probably dig something up here, but if I dig up photos of 20 to 25 years ago, there's an old man in those photos. That was me. But as I've been practicing this self-healing technique, which we will talk about, this sounds like an infomercial. Every time you start, no, we will talk about that. Yeah, you just got to keep watching. Right? But I found that through the practice of something I learned when I lived in Hawaii as a young surfer. I was 18 years old, living in Oahu, and I met this Kahuna priest. Now, people don't know anything about the Kahuna religion. They was talking about the big Kahuna, and all this. The Kahuna religion, they had these priests, and they practiced the old Hawaiian Polynesian, spirituality, which is all about self-love, self-forgiveness, and gratitude. And it's only now coming into the, everybody's talking about all this Hawaiian thing about love. And I'm telling you, when I learned this in the early 60s, nobody knew about it. And when I met this guy who kind of took me in as an apprentice, because he was the guy, he was a friend of President Eisenhower and Otto Preminger and John Wayne. And he knew all these guys. He was the guy. And he used to get paid by the state of Hawaii to go out and bless a highway or a public building or something. None of the workers would work on the building unless there was a ritual done, a Hawaiian ritual, and bless the soil and bless the workers. Anyway, so I met this guy and he told me, he says, I'm going to teach you about healing. I said, oh, okay, that's all right. I want to go surfing, but okay, we'll talk about this. And he goes, first thing you got to learn is you have to love yourself. I'm going, 18 years old. I'm ready. I'm going, okay, fine. I got to love myself. You got to forgive you. So at the time, I wasn't quite ready for that message. But as I got older and I learned things when I went to the Himalayan mountains and spent time in there and met all kinds of saintly, sacred sages and wandering gurus. And so many crazy, weird, phenomenal, supernatural, mystical people that I've met, ones that I'll never ever even know their name, spend days with people and not say a word, 3 days with somebody, 3 days and no words. And yet I learned so much from that one man that I have from anybody my entire life. Just so if the soul and the heart is open, the divine just wants to pour you love, wants to pour you information, wants to give to you. So that's just kind of my background. So starting at this point, last year I had a dream, and the dream was it was time. COVID was over. It was time to get back out and start gifting what I've learned from 77 years, gifting what I've learned to others. So when I'm not here anymore, I mean, maybe have some of my books maybe out there or some videos, but what I've really learned, I want to pass on. And what I've learned from the study of yoga and the study of this Hawaiian old religion, and with things I've learned simultaneously through dreams, visions, supernatural things, and through mystical people I met, I've kind of combined all these things in without making them really complicated and making things as simple as possible, the message. And that's what I'm teaching people at my workshops. I give workshops at New York, North Carolina, come up Texas, New Mexico in September, Wisconsin in November. I was in India. I went to, here I am teaching this stuff, and they fly me all the way to India to teach people there, healers and stuff. And I'm going, you got it here, right? Where do you think I learned it? So anyway, and I'll be going to Germany next year and England and everything. But everywhere I go, I don't, charge $300 for the weekend to be there, or, it's free. If you want to donate and help me out, great, because I'm retired. I'm retired. I'm paying for everything. I just go in someplace, but on pure trusting the universe, I will go someplace and I'll rent a church. Boom. And I'll pay for I'll get there. And somebody will take care of me. Somebody will feed me. Something happens. Somebody gives me a ride from the airport. People show up. I don't know why or how, but they seem to find me. And my wife is happy that some people have come forward to help me a little bit. Otherwise, I'd be in the hole. But if I was, it'd be all right. So I go around the world, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm giving it away free. So to kind of touch on it, what I'm really doing is teaching people the first thing that I was taught, and that's to love yourself. And without that, there is no healing possible. And I'm also teaching people, I'm advertising these events that I do as self-healing. It's all self this, self that. It's self-healing. I'm not somebody's guru. I'm not somebody's teacher. I'm not somebody's savior. I'm not somebody's whatever. I'm there to mentor them, to awaken them, the power within them. We're capable of great things. We're capable of great healings. We're capable of changing ourselves in the world. But it all starts with this. And most people, because I know I was I don't know if you know this or not, but I was a volunteer chaplain at Folsom Prison. When I first retired, I was doing that. And talk about no self-love. This guy's a serial killer or something, and he's in jail, right? Nobody loves him. And that they know it, right? And they don't love themselves. So just trying to get those people to kind of function taught me a lot about things. But I also realized that almost 100% of the people I meet, they never have fully realized that self-love, meaning they're always looking for something outside of themselves to save them. It's when they talk to God, God's in heaven. God's outside of them. If they talk to Jesus, Jesus is outside of them. It's not them. They don't realize that there's only one. There's just one. There's just God. I call it love. And when you realize that oneness, then you realize that everybody's connected to you. It's all one. How could you love and hate somebody else? Although I do teach people, because this is the real world, right? I teach people you got to love people because that's the divine thing to do. But rule number 2, you don't have to like anybody. And you don't have to be with them. So loving people and liking them are two different things, because you can love somebody that's in jail, but they deserve to be in jail and you don't want them to be out because they're terrible acts and things they will do. So it's all about waking up and realizing that your future, who you are, what you've manifested in your life, it's all created from you. There's no good, bad, ugly, it's karma, it's this, that. It's all you. It's from all your actions, thoughts, desires, what you've read, what you watch, what you eat. If you eat wrong, you get sick. If you read and put all this crazy stuff in your mind, you have mental illness. And if you're separated from the source, from God, the divine, then you have a spiritual sickness. But I really believe that all illnesses are the product of spiritual illness. When you're not right with the divine, then it doesn't matter what you're eating, vitamins, minerals, whatever. It doesn't how much exercise you do. Your life's going to have problems. And so I give a 4-hour workshop. I just did one in Santa Rosa, California, and Berkeley, California, and San Diego, and Encinitas, and I just did Syracuse, New York, and a couple other places. Same message, delivered differently because it's a different audience. Salt Lake City, I did there, totally different audience. So I don't go in with a pre-planned, here's what we're going to do in my workshops, or even for a talk. I go for a talk or I go for a workshop. I walk up on stage, or I'm introduced, I walk up there and I just look at my audience, I open my mouth, and in the back of my mind, I'm saying, I wonder what I'm going to say. This will be interesting. Because whatever you prepare is for that group. You can't carry the same workshop, the same talk, the same stories, the same everything from place to place because you don't have the same audience. So that's kind of where I'm at. So basically, I spend 4 hours, of which 3.5 hours of it's basically just changing people's receptivity and trying to get them to vibrate and get their frequency to change to make it so they accept. People will not accept the belief that they're their own healers. It's like if they have faith and trust in a pill, the pill will help them. If they trust and faith in the doctor will help them. If they believe in whatever they believe in, whatever kind of medicine or non-medicine or faith healing or whatever their belief system is, it will work for them. And if they believe that nothing's going to cure them, they're sick. You know what? They're right. Nothing's going to cure them. They're sick. If they believe when they're told you got 6 months left to live, you're going to die, they will die in 6 months. Fact. So state of mind, the energy that's there within them, that's what I try to work. And so that's what I'm doing around the world. And kind of an example, I'll tell you how I kind of discovered this. I had a near-death experience as a child, 8.5 years old. I was in the hospital one year. I mean, a year. And in that near-death experience, which I don't really want to dive too deep into it, but there's a bunch of videos out there on it. And basically, I talk about something that was different. Most people have a near-death experience, and they do a past life review. You've interviewed people, and that they usually go, well, I've looked back at my life and seen how this affects that and how my life is going. They all got a story. Most of them have a story where it's going backwards. Well, at 8.5 years old, you don't have a lot to reflect on. It's like, what'd you do? Well, I teased my sister, Anyway, so I had a 50-year preview of my life. Saw all these major things happening in my life, including the Vietnam War, John F. Kennedy assassination, who I was going to marry, all kinds of things. And so I spent a year in the hospital, and I had no phones, no radio, no television, no coloring books, I had visitors 10 minutes once a week. That was it, right? And most of the time I'm in bed all day by myself, total bed rest, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't walk around, couldn't go outside, couldn't enjoy the sunshine, nothing. So you think, wow, that's a terrible thing. But I realized that I had an opportunity, I had a gift. I had time that I'll never get in the rest of my entire life. I mean, unless I'm in solitary confinement in jail or something, you're never going to get time alone like that, right? So I started going within. I took all these inward voyages. I made it my own meditations, and I made it my own world, and I visualized love, and I visualized God, and I made up. I thought I made up meditations. I made up a meditation where I'm visualizing the air coming in through my navel and going up my spine and all these things happening, all that stuff. And then it was 50 years later where I'm in the Himalayan mountains and I meet this Tibetan monk, a refugee, old guy, calls me over. He don't speak any English. I don't speak, Tibetan. Spent 3 days with him, and he shows me this technique that I thought I'd made up on my hospital bed at 8.5 years old. And I'm going, wait a minute, I've already done this, right? And so I found out a lot of these things that I thought was totally made up. Later on in my life, I find out that everything I was doing, somebody had already taught someplace. It was already a technique someplace. So that was kind of interesting. But when I got out of the hospital, one thing I learned when I was in the hospital was my mother belonged to a organization called the Self-Realization Fellowship, which was started by Paramahansa Yogananda, who was an Indian guru that came to America in 1920. And then he established this training of Kriya Yoga, Hamsa Yoga, Om technique. And anyway, he also developed something he called recharging exercises. And he was dealing with Westerners and didn't think they wanted to do all these yoga exercises. So he made them very Western-like. And part of the exercise was to tense your body, dynamic tension, like pretend like you're lifting weights, like 100-pound weights, barbells, and you can kind of do that, and your body vibrates, the tension and everything. But the idea was you did these exercises to prepare your body for meditation. And I thought, well, geez, if you're charging all this energy in through your skull, through the top of your head, and you're bringing it down to all these muscles in your spine, I said, that's a battery that you're charging a battery. What are you going to do with that energy? It's more than just meditation. You've got energy there. So I put it to test. I got out of the hospital a year later. I'm in my front room, and my pet dog goes out, runs outside, gets run over by a car, 40 miles, 45 mile an hour crash, flattens my dog. It's out there laying. It's got blood coming out of its corner of his mouth, blood's out of the nose, blood out of the eyes, blood out of the ears, and his tongue is hanging out. And the poor driver's crying, I'm sorry, kid. I'm sorry, kid. I picked up the dog and I brought it in. And then I realized, I could use that dynamic tension, that recharging process with love. That was my thought. I was 9 years old then, right? I take with love. And I took the dog and I just, just like that energy just kind of come into my hands, and I put the hands on him, and it was like paramedics with the paddles, right? Clear. The dog jumped up, and there was sparks off my fingers like static electricity. It was like, dog ran around. That was it. Never went to a vet. I thought, energy can cure. Energy with love cures. So I tried that out years later when I got married, and I had my daughter. She was in college, and she was skiing down a hill up at Lake Tahoe. Used to be called Squaw Valley. I think that's improper now. Now it's Paradise or something. They changed it. It's no more Squaw Valley anymore. It's not in. So it's a different name, but it's where they had the Olympics at. Anyway, her and her friends were skiing at night, and she's not a skier. Anyway, she crashed. She blew her knee out. She calls me up. I'm in Washington, D.C. on a business trip, and she goes, Dad, they just put a cast, one of these Velcro casts, I don't know what you call them, but, you take it off and on, and temporary cast. She says, they say they want to operate on my knee when the swelling goes down. And I said, no, nothing's wrong with your knee. She goes, Dad, I seen the x-rays. It's all over. And I said, no, there's nothing wrong with your knee. Don't let them operate. I'll be home in a couple weeks. Dad! Anyway, so I wouldn't let her get operated on. And I come home, and then she was on crutches, and she had the cast on. And I take her into my meditation room. I have her put the crutches down. I have her take the cast off and lay down in my meditation room. And then I take, just like I did with the dog, I took the energy, visualized it coming through the top of my head, crown chakra, coming down through my spine and coming out like the antenna of my hands, right, my fingers. And I just grabbed her kneecap where it was like really broken up bad. And I just for about 3 minutes, I just penetrated it with love, energy, love and energy. And I got down and it got done. I said, get up. She didn't hesitate. She got up, walked, nothing wrong, right? So then she goes to the doctor a few days later, and she's walking in with no cast, no crutches. And the guy goes, she's there for a pre-surgery meeting. He goes, oh, what's going on? She says, well, my dad, and the doctor goes, we don't believe in miracles, you know. So he says, who said you needed surgery? And she says, you did. Oh, okay. Well, it must not have been bad as I thought it was. Though he's looking at this, you know, the x-rays, kind of wondering what happened, right? So she says, well, my dad says I don't need surgery. He says, okay. But he says, your dad didn't do it, though. It was obviously, there's nothing wrong. So she comes home and says, Dad, doctor says nothing's wrong. You didn't do nothing. I said, okay. So a couple of days later, she falls down the stairs, blows it out, worse than it was the first time. I mean, it's like you could touch it. And it was like, you could feel and hear the sounds of broken bones and, you know, and stuff. And cartilage, I guess that's what's in there. And I said, okay, we got to do this again. So we did it again. Except this time I planted an idea in her. I said, you know, because she wasn't really recepting and receiving the fact that it was healed the first time. She had doubt, right? So I said, it'll be 95% healed when we get done here. But that last 5% is going to take 6 months. You'll feel just a little, you know, just something there as you walk. You know, it won't stop you, but you'll just know it's not. But in 6 months, it'll be perfect. It's exactly what happened, right? So power of the mind's an amazing thing. So that showed me then I go, you know what? Energy works. I tried it out when I was in India. I was driving across the Ganges River on a bridge, and we had a vehicle accident, and this guy next to us, he was sitting on top of a farmer's cart that was hauling sugarcane or something, and he fell about 20 feet off the air, and he landed on the asphalt, splat, and he's laying there looking up, and his eyes are rolled back in his head, and he looked just like my dog did. I mean, he's got the blood coming out, blood everywhere. And he's not moving. He's not breathing. There's no pulse. And I go over to him and I just cradle him in my hands. And then I just gave him pure love. Just pure love. And I got some water and I cleaned his face, and then boom, he wakes up. You know, boom, there he is. Nothing wrong, right? The guy was good. So I've done it with people in comas, literally in comas, several people. I've used it all kinds of different ways. So I know that technique works, but it always has to be in combination with love. So I thought, well, that's going to be hard to teach people, but I will. But most people will not be able to do that because they don't have that vibration within them, because what you eat, meaning what you think, what you feel, everything about your life that you put into your heart and soul and your mind and everything, that affects your energy. I tell people, you want to drink booze, you want to do drugs, it's not a sin, but it's an energy killer. It lowers your energy. So if you want to, you want to eat red meat, you want to eat the pork, you want to, do the marijuana, you want to do the hard stuff, you want to drink beer every day, it's okay. It's not a sin, but you're vibrating at a lower level. Your frequency is not at its highest frequency. So if you want to heal yourself, if you want to heal others, if you want to be spiritually elevated, so you're making the right decisions in your life, it all depends on the energy that you're creating and the frequency that you're creating. So that's kind of what I'm teaching, to get people to realize that everything you do affects your energy and your frequency. It's like a tuning fork. You know, if your tuning fork's it's not with the same frequency with God, it's going to be causing you problems. So when I do these workshops, I advertise them as body, mind, and spirit. And I'll have a workshop and I'll have 5 or 6 people, 4, 5, 6 people have a miraculous cures. You know, within a day or two, I'll get messages, all kinds of neat things happen. But some people, that's for the physical level, but some people have contacted me and they go, you know, it's been a month or something. They go, my God, my spiritual, something's happened to my heart. It's just opened up. I'm feeling peace. I'm feeling love. I'm feeling moments of bliss. I'm feeling happy. What happened? And that's the most important healing, is the spiritual healing. Because everybody's out there in physical healing. I mean, you physically heal somebody. Well, you know what? They're going to get sick again. They'll get injured again. It's not the end of it. And they'll die. And, you know, and everybody dies. I'm sorry I let the cat out of the bag. I don't want to spoil this for anybody, but everybody dies. I'm sorry. Except for Elvis.
Yeah.
Different story. But, so
I think Michael Jackson is still alive too. I mean, somebody told me
it's
that.
possible. And it's living through Janet, I think, or something.
Yeah.
But so that's what I'm trying to teach people. But it is so difficult for people to forgive themselves, to truly love themselves. They got words from their childhood still in their head, like, you're stupid, you're dumb, you never amount to nothing. You don't know how to do nothing. You're a disgrace. All these things that, you know, kids feel, you know, you're a bedwetter, you're this, you're that, you know, you can't. And it's like, and these young souls, these young brains absorb that. So words are strong, very, very strong. And we're like tattooing these things out of the souls and the hearts of these young people. Of course, you bring stuff with you. Let's get real. I mean, I believe in reincarnation, but there's so much could be undone. And so when you learn self-love and realize, you know, your parents didn't go to college how to be a parent. They're just doing the best they can do. You know, stop blaming people. Everything you're doing from this point on is yours. Own it. Own it. It's like I'm working with people with PTSD. Own it. Don't blame the war on everything in your life. There are 3 divorces. You don't talk to your children. You don't have a pension because you got fired from your jobs for beating up the boss. I mean, everything could have went wrong. Drugs, alcohol. You know what? You can blame it on the war. It makes you feel better. But ultimately, everything was a choice. You choose today. And I teach people this. I got a video out. It's about die tonight, wake up, reborn tomorrow. And what I mean is this. When the day is over, take a look at what you were that day, how you acted, everything else. And you know what? Just kill that person off. Die. No, this person's finished. When you wake up the next morning, it's like being reborn. Today, my intentions is to be this loving, caring person. I'm going to be a good father today. I'm going to be a loving husband today. I'm going to be a good employee today. I'm going to be a community servant. I'm going to help people. Whatever it is that you want to do, positive stuff, right? If every day you start off like, forget tomorrow, forget all the failures, I tried that, failed, but every time you try and fail, you're one step closer to making it. You know, it's like, well, that's one other day, that's all right. It's past me. Treat each day as a new gift. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. And so that's what I'm doing with this healing as I go everywhere. And I found that we go to Salt Lake City, it was mostly Mormons. I go to Southern California, it's mostly New Agers. You know, it's everybody into yoga and everything else. And I go to the East Coast, and it's a mixed bag of Protestants and New Agers and everything. And then go to the South, I go to North Carolina, I get a lot of that Southern Baptists, you know, and the good religions there. So wherever I'm going, it's the same message. No dogma. You got to believe this, you got to believe that. This is the old, no. It's just 3 things. Love and serve. If you do that, all the other commandments, everything fits right in, right? It's all love. You can't kill somebody or commit adultery if you love your wife or you love your neighbor, right? So if you see God in everybody, then you love everybody. So people will understand. Like, for example, let me give you a story. When I go into a Baptist church, they like to hear stuff like this. And it's like, I don't change my truths at all. I give them something that they can feel at that spiritual heart level. And everybody wants that story that pulls their heart, right? So I'm talking about going down the American River in Sacramento. It flows down from Lake Truck, from Lake Tahoe. It's cold, melted water. It's really ice cold coming down through. And you can raft through the city of Sacramento. I don't know if a lot of people know that. So I don't like doing that because I got bad skin cancer. But about 30 40 years ago, I was talked into going on this raft. I'm going down the raft. We pull off on a beach, and I look down the end of the beach, and I see a bunch of young people down there standing around. They're pulling a body of a young man out of the water. So I go running down there. When I was in the Army, my last year in the Army, when I come back from Vietnam, I was a lifeguard. So I ended up being a lifeguard instructor and gave everybody about 250 guys that went through the class. I ended up the number one guy and actually taught and tested everybody. So when it comes to lifeguard, I take it pretty serious. So I run down there, and they dragged this 17-year-old boy, and he's laying on the beach. Gray, white gray, no breath, no pulse, nada. And I look around, they said, well, I said, how long has he been in there? It's ice cold water though, right? They said, well, we didn't miss him till 9 minutes or 10 minutes ago. We don't know how long he's been underwater. So at least 9 or 10 minutes for sure. So everybody's just standing there. Nobody's doing nothing. So I push everybody away, and I'm getting kind of mad at all these young people. They're all teenagers. And I'm looking at this one girl, typical California blonde, looked like she belonged on the beach, Barbie, there she is, right? So I flip them over. I'm giving them mouth to mouth. And people kept going. Some of the adults were going, well, he's dead. You can stop. He's dead. I don't stop. I follow this rule that I was taught. When you start respiration, artificial respiration or mouth to mouth, when you start on somebody, you don't stop until a paramedic or a fireman or somebody official says stop.
That's what we were taught as cops.
Yeah, I just keep going, right? I don't stop. So it's gone well past any time that anybody else would have went. But I just keep going. I keep going and going. And pretty soon, this kid erupts, and all this volume of stuff comes out of his stomach and his throat and all over me, right? And I turn him over, clean him up, and get him going. And he's standing up, and he's alive. And so the only thought I had as I looked around was, what's wrong with all these people? So I look at him, and there's this girl, and she's standing there next to her boyfriend and another girl. And I go, what's wrong with you guys? Your friend was dead on the beach, and you guys weren't doing nothing, not a darn thing. And she looked at me and she says, oh, no, mister, we were doing something. I said, what were you doing? She says, we were all praying that Jesus would send somebody who knew what he was doing and save our friend. And I go, what? She says, and you came. And I go, what? What? And so I look up there, and there's this bus in the parking lot above the river there, and it was a San Jose First Baptist Church or something. They were on an excursion. And I'm going, so I'm saying what to myself, and I'm kind of muttering as I'm walking back to the beach to my family. And I'm going, all right, she made a point with me. I was at the place I was supposed to be. I was used. Because I start my days off. When I start my days off, I set my intentions. Use me, God. Use me. Give me the wisdom, give me the tools, give me the strength, give me the courage, whatever it is I need. Don't take away anything that happens to me. Don't save me from nothing, but use me. So I couldn't complain back to God, even though I had throw up all over me. I was feeling terrible, but it was really a moving thing. Now, here's what's strange. So that story was good, and I tell it at churches, and people in the churches get all teary-eyed. I rented a church in December of this last year here, and I was doing a workshop. And I don't normally tell that story at a workshop because it's not really about healing. But we had a break, and there was a bunch of old people there, and that's not big. For whatever reason, I said, I'll tell the story. And after my workshop, this lady comes up to me, and she was about my age, maybe older, but she looked old. And she said she was sitting around it was one of those, like a rest home where all these old people live, that are, I don't know what you want to, assisted living place. And it was week before Christmas. And the people that run the place heard that I was giving a free event, free thing at this church. So they got a bus, and they bust all their people over there because then they'd have to watch them. They gave them to me, right? And she says, and I was asked if I wanted to go, and she says I was really sad. I was very depressed, but then I thought, no, maybe this is something I'm supposed to do. She says, and when you told that story, I knew I was supposed to be here today. And I said, well, why is that? She says, because when my son was 17, the same age as this kid I just saved, when my son was 17, he drowned and nobody helped him. She says, but now I know I heard that story. I know that my son is close to me. And he wanted me to hear that and that he's okay. And even I got teary-eyed. I'm going,
Yeah.
no, don't tell me the story. It's just like, wow. So I when I do things and I give public talks, or even I give like this, I just kind of ramble on at times, but I don't censor anything out. So in that case, I didn't censor that story. It's like, why am I going to tell this story? It's got nothing to do with what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
But I did. And that lady, it was at the end of the program, and at the end of the program, she heard that story, and that was it. It just made her Christmas. So, I mean, she was like about 80 years old, and her son died at 17. So, I mean, she must have been missing him for decades, really decades. So that's kind of what happens as I go out there and do things. And so, I did an event in Encinitas, California, and I had this woman that was an actress, and she came and said, I don't ask anybody what's wrong. I just wanted to demonstrate my healing techniques hands-on. I had her sit down, and she didn't tell me nothing. And I'm doing this hands-on where I transfer energy to the person, not for me to heal them, but to awaken them, the battery within them so they can heal themselves, right? I never want to give credit for anything. I tell people it's like going to a restaurant and have a great meal, and you want to thank the waiter for this great meal, and he didn't cook nothing, he didn't grow it, he just carried it from the kitchen to you, right? So that's kind of what I do. I'm just the waiter. I just facilitated you getting what you needed to get healed, right? So she's sitting there, and I do this hands-on front and back, and I'm transferring this energy into her. And the people sitting in the front row, there's about 6 people that came up afterwards because I heard them gasping, and they told me why. Well, but I was right about this close to her head. I'm just like, my forehead's almost on her forehead. There was a static electricity, like a little bolt of static electricity went, and then the forehead here, you can kind of see where it kind of goes in, right in there. It's kind of was glowing red, according to them. According to 6 people, it was glowing red. Like when you got your computer on, a machine on, a red light comes on. It was kind of like the machine is on, right? And she staggered and collapsed in the chair because there was this jolt of electricity that went through both of us. And I staggered up and I was leaning against the wall, but I was out of breath. It was like this explosion between the two of us. And then it took several guys to take her back to her chair. And I thought, wow, what did I do to this lady, right? I didn't know, wow. Okay. Then a few days later, I find out that she'd canceled scheduled surgery. She was scheduled to have her sinuses operated on because she had a decades-long problem with it, and they were going to fix it. And then she went to the doctor, and you don't need it. It's all taken care of. So, I tell people, I don't cure you. Don't thank me. If you believe you're going to be cured, you'll be cured. If you believe that everything I'm doing is hocus pocus and it ain't going to do anything, you're right. Nobody will be cured. So I'm trying to empower people to realize that everything is in their hands, changing their lives. It's like these people. I had people come to me this whole week. I've had 4 or 5 people come to me that were having money issues and this and that. They want to learn how to manifest. That's the big thing. I want to manifest I need to manifest a new job. I need to manifest money. I want to win the lotto. One of them actually said that. And I said, that stuff works to a degree, but realize that everything you have in your life right now, you've already manifested. You're just not aware of it. fear, anger, hate, joy, love, forgive. All these things are manifesting things in your life, plus your past karma. So I tell people, well, if you want to put a little thing on your refrigerator with a new car and a new job, and and you watched The Secret, the movie, and read the book,
Yeah.
and you're going to manifest all this stuff in life, I said, you're missing the boat. The only thing you should be trying to manifest in your life is love. Love, peace, joy, not things. And you're also going to God and you're telling God what you need. This is what I want. Instead of just saying, God, what do I need? Give it to me. Whatever I need, God, give it to me. Which could be like, I got cancer. Oh my God, how could you ask for cancer? No, I just ask for what I need. And I trust that whatever I get is what I need. If you get stuff and you're complaining, then you don't trust God. You don't trust his gifts. You don't trust the righteousness of the universe. You think it's random. Somebody's picking on you. Nah, everything happens for your evolutionary sake. Everything's evolving you. But you can't go through lifetimes with a credit card, charging up all these things and not have a debt to pay at some time. Sometime you got to face, if I eat 4,000 calories a day, I guarantee that in some time I'm going to have to pay the price. I'm going to be overweight, right?
Yeah.
So why is all this stuff happening to me? Why I don't have any money? Why? Stop asking why, accept what happened, and then take actions, positive actions to get you where you want to go. You can do all the positive thinking in the world, but without actions, no. You can manifest, I'm going to manifest this. Yeah, okay, great. But if you're fearful of poverty and you're thinking about the lack that you have in your life, you're only going to manufacture more of that. Anyway, that's what I'm doing on healing. I don't know if that was interesting or not, but
no, it's well, you kept my mouth shut, which is that's a miracle in itself. I mean,
two Irish Scotsmen not being able, that's hard.
Yeah, I'm like, usually I just can't help it. I have to throw in my own story and stuff, but I was eating it all in. Incredibly interesting. It's what's strange to me is hearing you talk because I'm in a very strong Christian circle around here, and I'm not your typical Christian. I don't tell people what I truly believe because around here in the Christian circle, you do that. It's a kill shot. I mean, you're going to get people to hate you quickly. So I'm like, I'll ask the questions, but you'll never know what I feel unless I really trust you. But I'm listening to you. I'm like, man, it's, I've heard people say, man, he reminds me of when I was young. You remind me of me when I'm 35 years older, which is, just, I mean, it's strange to say that, especially because you're from California and I'm kind of a unabashed. I hate saying redneck because people get the word redneck out of whack, but kind of country boy type guy. No, I appreciate it because I mean everything you're saying. I mean, I believe when you talk to people, you have to talk the way they can hear. And unfortunately, most people don't know how to do that. And I like to say, which may not be PC, but I really don't care. But I'm like, when you're talking to a Chinaman, you don't speak English. They don't understand English. So what you're saying is not going to make sense to them. You got to figure out how they talk. I'm like, when I talk to Christians, I use the Bible. When I talk to a Muslim, I use the Quran, because that's what they understand. And loving, I harp on that a lot. If you've seen any of my videos, I say it at least one time, usually about love. And it does. And I've had Christians, it's funny, I've had Christians say that Jesus never even insinuated to love yourself. I'm like, really? When he said to love your neighbor as yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you love your neighbor if you don't love yourself? And it really is one of the hardest things in the world to do. And, and even in Jesus talked about exactly what you're talking about. He's like, nobody can get healed if they don't have faith. It's them. They're healing themselves, through the power of God. I've used this expression. Actually, I just came up with it yesterday. Yesterday I had the podcast. No, day before yesterday. I was talking with a cat I know for like 5 hours, And I said, you know, it's really easy to understand our relationship with each other. God is the ocean. We're the raindrops. I'm like, we're all connected. We all come from the ocean. Simple as that. And if you understand that, you'll understand when you're hurting your neighbor, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting God. When you're loving your neighbor, you're loving yourself and you're loving God. Simple.
And if you're a raindrop, what happens to all raindrops? They go into a stream, they go into a river, they go into a dam, they eventually find their way where they're going. Ultimately, they're trying to find their way back to the ocean.
Yep.
So it's that's a good analogy right there. But see, I have a ministry, the Spiritual Warrior Ministries, and I have dozens and dozens of chaplains all over the world. And chaplains they're Baptists, they're Mormons, they're Christian, all kinds of faith of Christians. There are a whole bunch of Hindus. There's a Jewish rabbi guy. I mean, they're all everything. Because I got three major rules. No dogma. In other words, you help people where they're at.
Yep.
Whatever religion they are, help them with that religion's context. You know, if they believe it, help them through that. Use a vocabulary that supports what they believe. Don't try to convert anybody. And God don't need no more money. So stop asking for money. It's not about money, right? God don't need any more money. So, but see, everybody's not trying to convert somebody. When somebody's trying to convert somebody, they're saying, you're wrong, what you believe, and what I believe is right. That's what they're really saying. And if you have all these denominations that are all doing that, well, they all can't be right. You know, so you got to say, well, I always ask people when they come to my door, knocking on the door, here, take this. I said, are you happy? Oh, yeah. Are you happy with that? Yes. Then I'm happy for you. End of story. You know, I'm happy being me. So converting is basically judging. Mm-hmm. You're judging everybody else as not equal to you. I understand why they're doing that because most religions teach you got to convert. But all religions believe that. The Muslims want to convert. The Baptists want to convert. The Catholics, everybody wants to convert. And I'm going, no, then that's just a battle then. It's like them against you. So, but I wouldn't stop you. If you want to do it, I'm not out to stop you. I'm not going to judge you. But I watched a documentary on Netflix 2 days ago about Mr. Rogers, you know, the children's show guy, and how much hate mail he got from he had a section on the show where he had this black mailman on the show had tired feet on a hot day, and they put a little swimming pool with water, and they both got their feet in the water, and he's washing it and drying it, and their feet are in the water together. Oh my gosh. He got blistered from the South. Oh my God, how you know, and then he got blistered because when he died, and they showed film clips that when he died at his funeral, you had all these righteous Christians, some group, that said he was too tolerant of people, and he tolerated homosexuals and all this other stuff. And they were picketing his funeral and had children with picket signs across the street from his actual funeral with his family. And I'm going, really? You're picketing somebody because he was tolerant, and you're Christian, meaning you're intolerant, yeah. And you come attacking him because he's tolerant. He's inclusive of everybody. And then I watched a segment in the 1980s where he got attacked by a group of politicians saying he was what causing all the problems because he's teaching kids that they're all loved and they're all special. And Mr. Rogers was basically come back later when he had an interview on it because all these guys were attacking him, you know, like, oh, you got to. He says the God I believe in loves us all, and we're all special. You don't have to do anything to be loved. So, and yet they protested that, and so I'm looking at that and I'm going, okay. And then you look at Jesus's life, and he wanders around and 10 blind men come to him. They had faith. They figured if they touched him or went to him, they would heal him. So 9 of them walk away after they get healed of blindness. And only one approached him and said, "Thank you, Jesus, for healing me." One. That's 10% gratitude. And it's like, I get these people like, I do all this stuff for my family. My children don't appreciate all this. And nobody appreciates that. And I'm saying, hey, Jesus only was batting 10%. Come on. I mean, are you doing things to be appreciated? Are you doing things to be loved and thanked? Or are you doing things just because you love them?
Yep.
It's a difference. Otherwise, you got a price tag on it. I'll help you, but I expect you to kind of show a little gratitude to me. No. All of us are kind of guilty of that at times. You do stuff and you expect, people, no, don't do it for that reason. So I try to teach people, you're not here to get, you're here to give. You're not here to be loved. You're here to love. You're not here to be understood. You're here to understand. So it's in the giving that you get. When you give, you'll get. That's all. It's just, there's another ledger someplace else. Don't worry about it. But just do it because you see the God in humanity and you see the God in others. And if you serve God, it doesn't matter if that other person is a different religion, a different political belief. Love them. Love them. So I go through life. I don't talk politics. I don't talk religion. Whatever you are, I'm happy. I support you. I tell people, hey, look, if that's your religion, then don't be a hypocrite. If it says you do this and you do this and you go to confession or you do the rosemary or you light candles or you do this or you do 7 times a day, whatever it is, then do it. Or don't be a member of that organization. Don't be half in and half out. If you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
Right? Buy in. And I support you in that. So, but I really think most people, if they just practice love, meaning they're not going to analyze everybody else, condemn everybody else, judge everybody else. That's what our problem is. We judge politically. This guy's from a red state. This guy's from a blue state. This guy's from California. This guy's from Oklahoma. Oh my God, there's whole differences. So you can't go there. Why should we all go there? So embrace the differences. Allow other people to be who they are. And if they don't agree with you, that's okay. It's okay not to agree. If I would have met me 30, 40 years ago, I may not agree with what I've thought and said then. Because honestly, I find that every period of my life, there's an evolution going on. What's valuable to me now is different. What I believe for a fact now. See, I don't believe anything for a fact anymore. I'm in a part. Only thing I believe for a fact is love. I believe in love. Everything else is theory. Well, you believe in this, you believe in that. I go, it's all theory. What difference does it make? How do you live your life today?
Yeah.
That's not theory. That's real. How'd you live your life today? Did you help your neighbor? Well, I couldn't help my neighbor. He's Jewish, or he's black, or he's Hispanic, or he's Republican, or he's a Trumper, or he's a whatever, or he's for Biden. What's that got to do with anything? You help your neighbor or not. You help your neighbor.
Yeah.
So, and people will sense that and feel that. And it doesn't take a huge majority of people to change things. It takes that small little core group that can shift the energy and the focus and the vibration of the world. It only takes a few. Only takes a few. A few bad ones, a few good ones. It could go either way, It's like in Adolf Hitler. There's only 20% of the people were Nazis, but look, they took over the whole country, right? So strength in numbers is not necessarily true. It's strength in your frequency and energy within you. And love and truth is a higher frequency than hate and anger and lies. So
yeah,
don't have to win anything. It's not about winning. I tell people when I do marriage counseling, I said, if your wife says the sky is purple, and if you have to tell her in public in front of everybody that she's crazy, that's wrong, well, you didn't win nothing. Yeah, you're hurting somebody you love. That's no win. You can't win an argument by making somebody look foolish or stupid, especially publicly. Sometimes, come on, let it go. It's not important. And there's things that are important, and things are important. Always have compassion, and there's some things you just got to stand up for. This is not right. You're beating my child or something.
Yeah.
But if you really add up the most important things, there's not much, because everything's small stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's all small stuff. Just love. So that's kind of like Reverend Bill is out there. And basically, the reason I brought up Mr. Rogers is because the other day somebody was teasing me, saying they thought they were insulting me. They were calling me the Mr. Rogers of adults. I was the adult version of Mr. Rogers, my audience for adults. And I was supposed to be insulted by that. And then I watched the documentary on the guy, and I'm going, well, thank you. The guy didn't understand. I sent him a thank you notice, and he didn't understand it. I go, no, thank you. Yes, you're right. I am. He didn't know what to say. It's like his insult just kind of, I go, yes, I'm like Mr. Rogers. Exactly.
Mr. Rogers was a badass.
Well, yeah. Won't you be my neighbor? Come on. And then you go back to what you were saying about, love your neighbor.
Yeah. I've, Christians like to, and I do hate on Christians a lot. I actually had a friend of mine said, do you just hate Christians? I was like, no, but I have a sore spot because growing up, I grew up not knowing what love is, or at least learning that love was all conditional. And I got invited to churches, and I'd go to church and they all wanted to save my soul. And I'm this little kid, but I look like a cancer patient with 2 black eyes. I mean, they never asked me about my home life or anything. So that was my, my journey of learning what Christians were. And I tell them now, I'm like, you like to preach being a disciple. I was like, but you don't know what the word means. You think being a disciple is going out and preaching the Bible and reading these words, which didn't even exist when Jesus was alive. I was like, being a disciple is, let's say you live in this nice, ritzy neighborhood, except there's this one Trailer Park Joe, I call him because that's really politically correct, living right next to you because he was, grandfathered in or whatnot, but nobody liked him. He was bringing down the value of the houses and everything else. Well, he's out mowing his yard with the push mower because his grass is way too tall. Mower dies. He's cussing. He's mad. He doesn't like you. Nobody likes him, because, you're wealthy and he's not. So there's always that combat, and instead of, griping, instead of paying somebody while you're mowing your lawn, you just go over there and mow his lawn. You don't say anything. You don't ask for anything. You don't go over there and preach at him. You don't go do anything. You just do that and go about your way. Well, he's going to say, why'd he do this? Because you didn't ask for anything. So he can't say, well, he did this because he was trying to get me to do something. That's what a disciple is. I've told this story before. We have chickens at our house, and I live in town. My wife said she's going to bring some chicks home. I got excited, found out that they were just chickens. I was like, what the hell? But we have eggs, which is nice because if you eat fresh eggs, you'll never eat store-bought eggs again. But we get way more eggs than we need. Well, people were like, sell them because, when eggs were like at $20 a carton and stuff, we were still just giving them away. Well, she asked me one day who to give them to. Well, we have these neighbors behind us that, which is strange to me. I'm from the country, so having backyard neighbors is weird, but we have backyard neighbors. Well, they have these dogs that are constantly barking. They have a privacy fence, but their dogs are chained up and they're always barking. And, people will call the cops. I'll tell you that cops aren't going to do anything. Especially if you're in a town where the cops all have bachelor's degrees, they're not going to lower themselves. So I told her, I said, give them to our neighbors. I said, but don't mention the dogs. Don't mention any complaints. Don't say anything bad. Just talk about that. Here, you want some eggs? Like that. Lo and behold, after she did that, that was 8 months ago. We don't ever hear the dogs bark. Ever. That's being a disciple. You're just showing love for no reason other than to love somebody.
Yeah, I don't even divide. See, I don't even divide things into this is a Christian group, this is not a Christian group, because I frequent. Well, this year I've been in probably 15 different denomination of churches,
yeah,
and temples and mosques and everything. I never make note of that at all, other than the only concession I make is I don't tell a story that might offend their belief system. So in other words, if I'm in a Baptist church group, I would not talk about reincarnation or a guru.
Yeah.
Right. That's stupid. But love sells everywhere. Hope. People are really, if you really look at people as just, they're spiritual hungry. This is what's happening out there. There's a hunger out there right now. And the hate and the anger and the yelling and screaming at each other and all the politics of it. I mean, because politics is religion now too.
Yeah.
If you don't participate in that and you step out of that, there is a place that people are looking for refuge. They want to go someplace where, it's not, well, I want to be all around red people, all around blue people, let's say. And you present them in a neutral zone. It doesn't matter, because I'll tell you what, both sides need love. Both sides need love. And nobody needs hate. Nobody needs angry. And if you're so righteous that you hate this other side, we hate Biden, or we hate Trump, and I'm going, really? What does that serve? Let the law be the law. Let politics be the politics. But don't get down to that level where you're participating in the hate and the anger. Don't. And everybody feels like they have to be the one that wields the justice. Well, you know what? Nobody gets away with anything. Eventually. Everything is noted. Everything you've done, you got to answer for. End of story. So stop being somebody's getting away with something. And, this guy's, let it go. Let it go. Now, if you're a police officer, you got to do something. If you're a politician, maybe you got to do something. But, most people wake up and they get involved in world problems. What's happened to Russia and Ukraine or whatever, right? And there's nothing in their personal life that affects it one way or the other. Zero. And yet they spend hours thinking about it and getting angry over it. Whew. No, don't do it. Just release it. And I found that when I open up these free workshop seminars that I do, and I'm attracting people from all over the place. People come in, they feel loved, they feel safe. They end up spending time with people. If they really knew the politics and the religion of everybody there, they would be uncomfortable. They might not want to be with that group. But when it's a group brought together and all they're going to be talking about is healing and love, it never comes up. And people become friends before they even know. I mean, now, I can remember meeting people in the 1950s and the 60s. You never asked anybody what your political beliefs were, who you voted for. Nobody cared. And you had a ballot, you put it in, you vote for Eisenhower, Stevenson, didn't matter. End of story. When the election's over, nobody cared. End of thing, right? Life went on. So I am not out there trying to start any more fires or any more wars or re-educate people. I'm trying to teach people, love you, and that solves all the rest of this stuff. See, I don't have to give them step by step. If you truly love you, then you see everybody as your neighbor. I guess I am Mr. Rogers. Won't you be my neighbor? So if everybody's your neighbor, treat them right. It's like, I live in a neighborhood. I learned a long, long time ago. If you're living in a neighborhood, you got people next door to you and stuff. You don't turn them in for barking dogs or for having pets that are, not licensed, or they're doing fireworks, or, you know what? It never works to complain about a neighbor. Never, ever, ever, ever. So just love your neighbor. When's the last time a neighbor just went over and gave somebody some cookies they made, or, welcome somebody new to the neighborhood? Those are the things you really want to be a good spiritual person. See, there's a difference between being a religious person and a spiritual person. Religious person could quote you scripture, can go out in the street and cite it. The end of the world's coming. Here's, Revelations, blah, 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 repent. And then the spiritual person's out there feeding the poor.
Yeah.
With no propaganda. Here, don't even have to convert. I'll feed you anyway. Right? So I'm a believer that things will get better. I haven't given up on young people. I haven't given up on old cranky people. I haven't given up yet. I still think that people are going to get tired of the fight.
I think that's why we're fighting. We've got to get to that point.
Yeah. And we're learning something from all this. And in the end, we have to get along. I mean, we really do. It doesn't mean you agree with them ever politically.
Yeah.
But you also realize that just on politics, there's craziness on both. It's gone so far both left and right. I mean, it's crazy on both sides. It is. No matter what we believe, you can look at it and go, yeah, that's I'm on this side. That's really crazy. But the other side, that's really crazy. But if you really looked at it and you're in the middle and you go, it's kind of fringy crazy on both ends of this spectrum. You got to pull people more closer. There got to be some compromise. There got to be some give and take. You can't get it all your way or your way, the highway. I mean, there's got to be, you got to learn to live with people. So start with it. Most people can't live with it. So I'm saying it again. If you don't love yourself, you got problems. And that's the problem in this country. It's a lot of self-hatred. So there you go.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm doing on that. If you want me to come back on here sometime, we can talk about Vietnam, miracles there. We can talk about a rainbow experience, near-death experiences, time travel, UFOs, wherever you want to go. But I thought today's little venture should be about, you know what? It's not about anti-Christian, pro-Christian, anti-Jews, anti-this, anti-that. It's just be pro-love. I'm pro-life. Be pro-love. Be pro-love. Find a way to bridge that. Find a way to build a bridge, not a wall. So it's bridges that will help us eventually. So I believe. So things will get better.
I appreciate it. I've already decided before you were even on that you're going to be on here several times. I mean, I didn't ask your permission yet, but I was going to invite you on. I mean, I watched a few of your other interviews you were on, and then interviews you gave. And I just watched. What's her last name? She's an actress. She was on Lois and Clark. Marla.
Yeah,
Marla Freeze. Yes, I watched that. Enjoyed it. Like I said, I don't usually watch a lot of podcasts that are like this just because I watched a lot of indie stuff because I researched it a lot. But no, I agree. I'd like to have you on and talking about a lot of different stuff, but I think this was a good topic because it's the topic that everybody can relate to. And if they can't, they need to.
Yeah, I think eventually we got to talk about some deeper metaphysical things, but I think the audience, if we talk about the basic foundation, that's what we did today. I'm saying, no, forget this. We're not anti anything.
Yeah.
Let's be pro something. And instead of finding fault with this Christian group or this Muslim group or this Hindu group, don't find faults. Look, what's the same? Whatever religion you got, is a person devoted? Are they giving love? Are they taking care of their family? Are they serving their communities? If you can see the things in common, it helps build the bridge. So I just say, just don't judge others. Just because I'd be honest with you, there's nobody out there. I'm saying you, me, anybody that's been on a video or a podcast. It's not 100% of the people that you're going to make happy out there. You're going to have some nasty notes coming to you.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way it is. Nowadays, everybody's a critic. They go on Amazon. They hate every book. They haven't even read them. They post something nasty. They put reviews on services. Guys, got a restaurant. People put some terrible, funny, oh, this stuff's terrible,
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be a critic. So I'm saying you got this show, use it, send that positive message out there. And so find things that are in common with people. The thing about near-death experiences, everybody can relate to that or wants to relate to that because everybody wants to believe there's life that goes on. We don't just die. Life does go on. And so that's what makes them interesting. But you don't have to have a near-death experience to have a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a near-death experience to find closeness with God. In fact, that's a terrible way to do it. So do it while you're healthy and well. Find God. You don't have to just go to church to find God.
No.
Find God in your heart. Love and service. You want to honor Jesus? Help a homeless person. You want to honor Jesus? Love somebody. Take care of that lost sheep. The one that needs it the most.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus hung around with tax collectors and prostitutes and bad guys, and soldiers and policemen and all kinds of stuff, right? He went where people needed him.
And he didn't go there beating the Torah upside their head or anything.
Yeah, didn't condemn them. So we should be the same thing. And so I'm hoping that people realize that the real message of Christianity, the greatest message ever, think about it, is forgiveness. Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. And they're torturing his body and killing him. And he's telling people to forgive. What greater message could Jesus, any man, ever given to mankind? Forgiveness. People, they lose the message. It's like, no, the message really is love and forgiveness. That's it. There's no great philosophical thing that, they could write, they try, it's this thing. No, just focusing it on the narrow point. You're getting killed. You're getting nails in your hands and feet, and you're saying, forgive them.
Yeah.
Wow. Now that is everything.
That's a message every religion can believe.
Build a belief on that and emulate that. Doesn't matter if they're insulted or cursed by others or judged. It's, each got your own cross. But most people can't suffer the pain. They're angry. I got to get even. You did this to my child. You did this to my country. You did this to whatever. It's getting even. I don't remember anything from Jesus ever talking about retribution.
No.
Slap that cheek, turn, slap the other cheek. Boy, nobody does that. Nobody. That's huge. So to me, one of the greatest influences on this world ever was his crucifixion and the life he led the last year there. He was the example. He was a sacrificial lamb. And if they don't hear that message, I don't know what it's going to take.
I think a lot of Christians, and that's what I've noticed because I paid attention a lot to Christians. And I don't dislike Christians or Christianity. I consider myself a Christian. But I see that the lesson they got was they saw Jesus hanging on the cross, and the good news they were spreading to them was that he died on the cross. And I say most Christians pay attention to the 3 days, but forget about the 3 years. And the good news was not that he died on the cross. It's that he taught the good news is love and forgiveness. That's the good news, because that's what nobody knew of at that time. The Pharisees didn't understand love the way Jesus was teaching. They were like, oh, the Pharisees didn't like Jesus because Jesus said he was the Messiah and blah, blah. I was like, Jesus that wasn't even come up at the beginning. I'm like, he was teaching love, and they were like, no, you can't do this on the Sabbath. You can't do that. That was it. They were so ritualistic, so religious. They cared more about the law and the rules than God's people loving.
Well, it ain't changed much. I mean, he was judged pretty heavily. But anyway, so people watching this, I tell people, whatever your religious beliefs are, dig deep into it.
Mm-hmm.
Be what you say you are. And if you want to, if you're whatever religion you are, then emulate Jesus if that's what you want to do. Meaning, don't judge, forgive, love, give. That's it. Just, and that would be huge. You don't have to change that. You can keep all the dogma. If you want to believe something, it's all right. I don't think God cares one way or the other what you believe in the dogma. I don't think you're going to be judged on the dogma, what you believe. I think you'd be judged on how you lived your life. End of story. If you're judged at all.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. Reverend Bill. Sorry, I'm making myself say Reverend because I know that's what you're called. I really, really appreciate you coming on. A lot of insight. You speak a lot prettier than I do, so it helps. I'm how can people get a hold of you if they want to hear more, if they want to get your books, whatnot?
Okay, I do have a YouTube channel, Rev Bill McDonald, just like it says at the bottom of the screen here. And I got about 150 or 60 videos on there right now. I talk about all kinds of things. And I got a website, www.revbillmcdonald. They can find me there. And I got a Facebook page, which is Rev Bill McDonald. Boy, really original stuff here. So you can find me out there, and or you can get me on email through, if you just go to my website, there's a place to contact me. But otherwise, you can go Huey, Huey 576 at gmail.com. Huey Helicopter. Think Huey Helicopter now is number 576. So when I say Huey 576, that's from my war. I was a crew chief on that helicopter. So it's easy for me to remember. I don't know if anybody else can, but there you go.
That's what I assumed it meant whenever I saw it on your email.
And then if they want to read my autobiography, Warrior or Spiritual Odyssey, takes me all the way through my life through Vietnam, and later on end up having I had a heart attack on Machu Picchu in Peru. And then this one takes you about 4 journeys to the Himalayan mountains, to India, and all kinds of supernatural people. 2 near-death experiences in this book, 1 in this book. Really out there. I'm working on a new book now. My books are in German and Spanish, English, whatever languages will be coming out next, I'm not sure. So I'm out there. But you know what? It's not about me. It's not about the messenger. It's the message. My message is simple. Love and serve. That's it. What's your purpose in life? To love and serve. How do you serve others? Whatever talents and abilities you have, use them. Picture everybody as God, serve God. So sometimes serving just make a meal for somebody or giving somebody some eggs, your neighbor. Serving could be helping the poor. Serving could be making a good living, and you get a factory, and then you're hiring people and providing employment for people. Is service. That's a beautiful. Right now, if you can provide a job for somebody, that's a beautiful thing. So loving and serving is not judging, and it's not anger, it's not hate, it's not fear. It's love. Love is in the light. That's it. Love.
Nice.
So whatever you do, live your life as an example, because your children are watching you. You want to teach your children something? Not through lectures, not through sermons, not through telling them what this, telling them that. They watch you. So if you're preaching, don't do this, don't do that, they see you doing, you're doing weed, and you're drinking booze, and you're carousing around with the neighbor's wife, all this stuff. Well, you know what? They notice that. They know these things. That's what you're teaching them. And if you're yelling at your spouse, that's what they're picking up on. How'd you talk to your wife? How'd you talk to your husband? That's the teachers, your behavior. As a parent, everything you do is teaching your children.
Yeah. How
you treat them. Do you shame them? Make them feel stupid? If they break something, do you forgive them? It's just something. Forget about it. Let's go on. So that's the message. I'm hoping and believing very much so that it'll catch on. I'm going to spend a few more years out on the road doing what I'm doing, and then I'm going to pull back, and then I just want to teach teachers. I want to teach people that are doing what I'm doing, pass around my knowledge to them, because then they can go out and carry this on when I'm gone. Because it's not about me. It's about what I've learned in all these years. That's it. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice is a very understated word, but it's a good word. You have your surgery on Tuesday, right? This Tuesday?
Yeah. You guys said I got the last few years. Okay, here we go. I guess I showed this or not.
Yep.
That's me last September. And I got like 14 or 15 more of those maybe down the road. I don't know, but I had a whole bunch of them. I had about 300 some stitches in my face the last couple of years. Nose cut off twice, and then a few years before that, a third time. So 3 times.
Wow.
I feel like Pinocchio that went to the carpenter shop and got it cut off.
Well, I'm a firm believer in nothing happens to you, everything happens for you.
Yep.
And
That's
so
how you use it.
I know with your state of mind that everything's fine. So I'm not going to say, well, good luck or anything like that. But you'll definitely be in my thoughts and prayers. Hey guys, I want to personally thank everyone for liking and sharing my videos. If you want to continue to see my content, all you got to do is press that subscribe button and I'll notify you as soon as a new video comes out. I don't get paid for any of this. So if you want to buy some of my merch, like my shirts, like Jesus is a Badass or my Don't Be a Dick shirt, you can easily go to my merch store, which is at sogtv.org, which I will have it in the description at every video. So push that, go buy yourself a shirt. I appreciate it. Have a blessed day, and I will see you at the next episode. Thank you.